course, there's only one big story out today. It's on the front of all of the papers. You'll have seen it all over social media last night, if that's your thing. Phillip Schofield. Now, of course, we know he'd left this morning, but was still part of the ITV family. Well, no longer. He has now quit ITV completely, with immediate effect, after admitting to having an affair with a young male colleague this morning.
Yes, the presenter has also been dropped by his talent agency, YMU, who represented him for over 35 years.
Let's talk to Showbiz reporter Ellie Phillips, who joins us now. Morning to you, Ellie. Look, I mean, in some respects, this doesn't come as a massive surprise, because there had been these rumours rumbling on for a long time, but the fact that he's come out and admitted to having this affair with a much, much younger colleague whilst he was still married, or hadn't come out to his wife at least, because he's not divorced as yet, is he? But this obviously has caused a lot of upset at ITV.
Yeah, I think it's upset absolutely everybody. You mentioned his wife, Stephanie. He's also got two daughters. Ellie, you mentioned YMU. One of his daughters actually works for YMU as well. So there's so much going on behind the scenes here that, you know, the ripple effect of this is enormous. I've got to say that Phillip Schofield has said in his lengthy statement that he made to Daily Mail, and specifically to Katie Hind, that what he did, the relationship he had with this young man, was unwise but not illegal. He did admit to meeting the young man when he was a teenager, helping him get a job at ITV, and then said that their romantic relationship then, you know, took on after that when he was an adult working for the company and they were colleagues. But yeah, this is true. So this time last week, almost, you know, just a few hours difference really, he said that he'd agreed to step down from This Morning, but that he was going to be carrying on with a primetime show of his own, and that he would be hosting the Soap Awards, which are next weekend. He's now said that he won't be doing that. He's completely resigned from ITV altogether. He won't be doing Dancing on Ice anymore. He won't be having The Cube anymore. This primetime show that was apparently being lined up for him is no more. And also his agency has dropped him, and they've made blistering statements against him, essentially saying, you know, integrity is at the heart of what we do. He's lied to us. And he himself admitted not only did he lie to his agents, his friends, his family, his wife, he's also said he lied to his lawyers, the public, the media, and that, you know, he really needs to, you know, essentially take a look at himself, which is what he said in this huge statement. And then last night, ITV issued a statement as well, saying that they were deeply disappointed by the admission of deceit by Phillip Schofield, and that he'd said that that Phillip Schofield had made assurances to them that he now admits were untrue, and that they feel badly let down by him. So overall, this is everyone washing their hands of Phillip Schofield and saying, we didn't know, he lied to everyone, on him.
Ellie, look, these statements that people make when they come out with these statements, they're meant to be mitigation, aren't they? You know, it's mea culpa, but also trying to sort of make it sound a little bit better. You touched on that one key point for me, which was he said this relationship was unwise but not illegal. Now, the not illegal part seems very odd that he's had to put that in.
It does, but to those in the industry, and actually to a lot of people now who know a little bit more about the kind of the rumours that were circulating, and, you know, he said in this, I had to address certain things. I'm not going to state this man's name, you know, because I don't, you know, it's not fair on him, it's not fair on his family, which I think is actually a wise thing to do, because it isn't, you know, it isn't his fault, this guy. But I think it's worrying because he's had to address the fact that when he did meet this young man for the first time, he was a teenager. The exact age hasn't been confirmed, but there have been speculations over what age this young man was. And then I think the other thing is that he's saying it's not illegal, but it's also about an abuse of power, because Phillip Schofield was the face of This Morning, in a massive position of power. And then you've got a runner who, in the scheme of things within the scene, you know, within how it works behind the scenes, is much lower down the rung in terms of the power. So it's about that power imbalance, I think, and about when companies have these HR policies in to avoid any HR problems, it's no work relationships. And if there are work relationships, usually both parties have to go to HR, tell them about it, sign statements, give interviews so that everyone knows it's above board. That obviously hasn't happened because this was an affair and he's admitted this was an affair. And then obviously there's the fact that there's this huge age difference. Phillip Schofield, 61 years old. We was with this morning for 21 years. So, the youngest he could have been was 40 when he was there and when he helped to get this teenager onto the show. So there are some worrying questions, and I think that's why he specifically stated, that as much as he admits that what he did was, unwise, he states it wasn't illegal, and that is important to say.
And Ellie, you're right that there are questions now being asked, and probably the biggest one this morning is what ITV knew and when.
Yeah, and it's not just ITV as well. I think obviously a lot of people are asking, what did Holly know? And I think you have to look at what's happened over the past few weeks. Behind the scenes, the reports that came out alleging that Holly Willoughby's alleged feud with Phillip Schofield, which is the reason that he stepped down, was due to things including the fact that apparently she wasn't aware of all this stuff that was going to come out about his brother Timothy, who just over a week ago was convicted and sentenced to 12 years after being convicted of 11 child sex offences, and that she says, according to all these rumours that were circulating, these reports in the media, that she wasn't aware of that. She wasn't made aware of that by Philip, which contradicts what we know about the pair being so close, holidaying together with families, being each other's rock. You've got to remember when Phillip Schofield came out publicly in 2020, it was Holly Willoughby that sat with him on the couch saying, I know how difficult it's been for you. I'm here for you. And that is not what he's getting from her now, from ITV in general. There isn't that support. You've got to think about how they handled his departure from this morning. On Monday, it was a 30-second farewell with a few pictures flown up. There wasn't a highlight to best bit, a gushing farewell statement. It was very short, very brief, very much, we are cutting ties with you. But I do really want to reiterate as well to a lot of people watching to know that when it comes to who knew what at ITV, a lot of the people behind the scenes on this morning who were there when this young man was working there won't be working there now. So I think it's important not to condemn everyone with a stroke of a brush, saying, well, if you work there, you had first-hand knowledge of what was going on, because that won't be the case. And if he himself is saying that he lied to colleagues, to friends, to everyone, then I think it is important to be aware that, a lot of people at ITV this morning in particular won't have known.
And Ellie, what do you think this will mean for Holly Willoughby going forward? Because her and Philip were very, very close, not just professionally, but personally as well. I mean, their families used to holiday together, didn't they? And she's gone on this early half-term break, but she is meant to be back next Monday, isn't she? Do you think that will still be the case?
Yeah, I do. I think I can't see them deviating from that. They won't like the fact that, they've had to change all their plans. Things have gone up in the air. And Holly is essentially what they call their golden girl. They absolutely adore Holly Willoughby at ITV. And she is really good in terms of on screen. She's very professional. Live TV is a very, very difficult job to do. We've had Alison Hammond and Dermot O'Leary do the majority of last week at This Morning and seeing how they work with each other. But it has all been said, and rumours behind the scenes are Holly will be coming back. Currently, it's Alison Hammond who's tipped to permanently co-host with her moving forward. And I also want to mention as well that one interesting thing about Philip's statement, which does ask more questions and I think possibly might leave Holly a bit annoyed, is that he specifically states that the reason he left this morning, or that, essentially he was sacked from This Morning, was unrelated to this affair that he had with a young runner, a previous affair that is no longer carried on. And so that leaves people saying, okay, well, why did you leave then if it wasn't for this? What else is going on? What else is there to come? What else is going to be revealed that's completely unrelated? And then that means people are looking at Holly saying, okay, so if it wasn't this, what feud was there? What's going on between you two? So it does leave people asking a lot more questions as well, which is something that we just have to wait and see how Holly will address. I can't see her audibly addressing this. I can imagine that the way that when he left this morning, she issued a short statement. I can see that being the way forward for her now as well. But very controlled statement, put out, and attempt to put it to bed and move on from it.
OK, Ellie Phillips, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed on what is the biggest story of today. It's in the front of all of the newspapers this morning. And as Stephen said, it broke last night on social media, and it was a very big story within minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'm not convinced that Holly is going to walk away from this unscathed. And I'm not saying that that's fair. I don't know. But does it damage the whole brand? Because they've been so linked together.
Yeah.
Does it damage the whole brand, as it were?
I mean, she's been trying to distance herself, hasn't she? She came out with that very short statement, something like, thanks for getting me to where I am, thanks for your experience, knowledge, and the sofa won't be the same without you. She's been trying to do that, but can you? I mean, if you've worked with someone for 14 years, side by side, you do Dancing on Ice together and This Morning, two prime time ITV shows, can she then have a career as an independent?
I don't... Well, she could. She could, but whether on This Morning...
On This Morning.
I don't know.
Especially when there's so many good, talented people...
And because this is
who do step in.
Because this is getting toxic, like properly toxic now.